Welcome to the Beauty Cares live series. My name is Carrie Kennedy. I am the director of the Institute of Beauty and Wellness and the Aveda Institute Madison schools here in Wisconsin. This video series is an opportunity for us to provide guest education to our students while we go through distance learning. So if you are a student with the Institute, hello, welcome. And if you're a visitor, hello and welcome. We have 21 plus days of education here. So really excited about what we're offering, and also just wanted to let you know that we will continue to have education every day at 2 p.m. for all hair and salon guest speakers, and then at 3 p.m. for all spa guest speakers. So just wanted to make sure that you're aware. If you go into the description and there is a link to our blog with the whole lineup, continue to look at it because we are going to be adding to it. So welcome again. Our first guest speaker is Luca Boccia. Luca has been a passionate leader in the development of salon industry for over 30 years. His work has been featured in Modern Salon, and he's led at premier and Miami Beach beauty shows. In addition to being a stylist, educator, mentor, motivational speaker, he is the president and co-owner of Pure, an Aveda lifestyle salon with 3 successful locations in Florida. We are happy to have you, Luca, and excited to really learn from you about salon styles and the demonstration that you have for us. So go ahead and take it away.
I've been here for 6 years. I actually used to be a client. This was the first time that I went into a salon and I saw a professional atmosphere that struck me as likely financially fruitful.
Education is second to none at Pure. I have never seen one salon offer so much education where someone can come, rebuild their skill set before they start working with clients.
They never have you stop growing. You're going to education classes. I mean, that's key. You can't stay stagnant.
If you're not growing with education, you're not growing with the business. So the biggest part about this place that's different to me and what makes Pure stand out is the education system that they provide.
They taught us how to really do hair, how to do customer service, how to really embrace everything that's in your chair.
The opportunities that Pure provides are more than just what's in the salon or what's behind the chair. We do a lot of hair shows, backstage work, photo shoots.
The fashion shows that Aveda Pure puts on are one of a kind in my opinion.
I got to be just an extra pair of hands, and it was probably the coolest thing I've ever done thus far in my career.
Over, I think we had 1,000 people, and they were all there, and our small salon put on the biggest show that I've seen in a long time, so that was pretty amazing too.
And on top of that, they get the business skill sets that really allow them to create their own industry where they can become 6-figure hairdressers each and every year. What I love about Pure is it gives you the chance to specialize in a craft that you love. Most salons in South Florida, you're going to do both cut, color, the full shebang. But the reality is some people are extremely passionate about one skill set.
The fact that we departmentalize exponentially gives you so much more growth. Just cutting and styling, I feel like I've grown in 5 years instead of 2 years.
I love that we're departmentalized. Really, for me, it became a matter of becoming so much stronger and better, faster.
I am a cutter through and through. When they gave me the choice to just cut hair, then I got to spread my wings and really do what I love.
It's not just coloring hair, it's not just cutting hair. We're delivering a whole experience, and that, I think, is what makes us different than any other salon.
Once I decided to move to South Florida, it was an easy decision. We have beautiful beaches, great weather.
Who wouldn't want to come to South Florida? You want to come to South Florida because this is paradise.
It's just really nice to wake up to sunshine every day as opposed to cold and warming up your car.
I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. I don't have a family here, but these people are my family.
You really do feel like a community and a family, and the love. And that starts from the top all the way down.
As a team, we educate each other, we learn from each other.
And you just love to come to work.
We spend more than 40 hours a week here. This is my home.
Pure was created by us as a whole, and there's nothing that we can't do.
This is an amazing industry. You want to be passionate about it and keep that fire going, and I think you've got to make sure you're in a place like that.
We're going to grow, we're going to expand.
Endless opportunity. The more willing to receive you are, the more you'll get out of it.
And we're always going to be the best that we can be, an innovator or the number one for whatever we can do, because we can.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so glad that we have this opportunity to spend some time with you guys. My name is Luca. Like they said in the video, we have like 4 Aveda lifestyle salons down here in South Florida. If you're familiar with South Florida, we're between like Palm Beach and Miami. So Palm Beach and Fort Lauderdale, Miami. So we have about 120 team members. And I'll tell you what's so interesting about this. We are Aveda lifestyle salons. And what I love about this industry is just about what's happening right now. Like, think about this. We're closed down here in South Florida, and I know that you guys are closed up there. The only difference is we're in 85-degree weather. I don't know what you're dealing with today up there. But anyway, so what happens is being part of a network like Aveda brings something like this together. Not every industry is doing this, not every brand is doing this, but we're doing it. And I think that's so cool. When the Institute called me to see if I would be available to do something like that, I said, absolutely, just tell me when. And then we talked about what are we going to do when we do get together. And we did want to share a little bit of styling with you, so I brought one of my team members in, and they're going to do some styling. I do want to share with you that I work for Aveda also. I'm an Aveda professor, and I travel all over the world teaching people and salons and their teams how to create profit and how to grow their books. And so that's kind of what we're all about. And I love going to institutes and recruiting students and bringing them into the salon. Our team is 90% came from Aveda Institutes. And so that's really just a high mark. We go out and we look for really people who are passionate to do what we do. And the young man I'm going to introduce you to in a little bit, I recruited him from the Orlando Institute. And I wanted to bring him in today so that he can share his story, because not that long ago, he was in the same situation as a lot of you guys. And I know that we're going to maybe take some questions. We'll figure that out technology-wise. But I hope that if you have any questions for either me or this young man here, I would like you to ask them. We go around to institutes for 2 reasons. One, because obviously we're recruiting for our salons. And so we like to go in there and look for really fresh, good talent. But more so, we like to give back, as Aveda does all the time. We like to share back into the community, back into the institutes, share with knowledge, share with questions. You know, it's kind of funny when you're in an institute, when you're in school, I always find it funny that students are like, oh, I can't wait to graduate. I can't wait to get out of here. And like I always say, but the next thing is coming to a salon like ours, and which is the same thing. We run our salon the same way you run your school. So here's my advice while you're in school. Learn as much as you can. It's not just about getting a license while you're there. It's about learning every technique that you possibly can while you're in that situation. Because I will tell you, Our brain is like a computer, right? There's no one way to cut. There's no one way to style. There's no one way to do makeup. Like, there's constantly learning. I've been doing this for 40 years. And for 40 years, I keep absorbing everything that I've learned. I mean, 2 years ago, I was out on the West Coast and somebody was doing a bob and I was like, I never graduated a bob like that. And so even someone in the industry that long can learn a different way to do something. So constantly keep taking everything that you're learning from people, put it in this computer, and then make it your own when you're there working on your guests. I want to introduce you to this young man. I tell you why I bring him in. When we recruit somebody, we take them through a process, and I want him to share his story with you before he does a little styling here. But I want him to share his story because, like I said, it's so important. To me, the most important thing from an owner's point of view is when it's not talent, because I believe we can teach people techniques. We can teach people standards. We can teach people things. What it's about is, do you have the passion to want to come in here and learn and drive? And like I said, you'll see that when I introduce you to this young man. What we look for is somebody who's willing to do the things they need to do to grow in the business. And so that's what we're here to share with you. We want you to ask as many questions as you possibly have about the business, because the fact of the matter is, what I look for is someone who's going to come in here and interview me. I want you to come in here and any salon that you go to in the future, and I want you to interview that owner in that salon as if you're going to spend the rest of your life there. Whether you do or not is irrelevant. But what's great about that is then it's a good fit. When you find the place that's right for you, then it's going to be right for us. Make sense? So here's the deal. Let me introduce you to Pedro. Pedro, like I said, he's a young man. He's working for us for a few years. He's climbed the ladder very, very fast in our industry, very, very fast in our company. And he'll tell you his story, but I want you to really listen to him, because he's probably one of the most successful people that I've ever brought through my program. Okay? Pedro, come on over.
Hey, how are you guys? My name is Pedro. I've been with Pure for about, I'm gonna hit 3 years now in May, and I've gotten about 4 promotions ever since I started. So the reason why I bring that up, it's not to brag, but to kind of show you the possibilities, right, of being in a salon that offers education, that offers the tools. So at the end of the day, what your job is to follow those tools, right? So you're not necessarily trying to figure out how you're going to be successful. Sure, it's difficult. Being an assistant is difficult. All of those things are hard and they take hard work. But when you have a layout already that this is what I need to do in order to be successful, the easy part is to follow it, right? It's just to go through those motions. Just to give you a little rundown of my path, I was in an Aveda Institute in Orlando about 3-4 years ago. I was sitting in a chair, you know, like those auditoriums that we have, and somebody came on stage, and it was Luca and my coworker Joey. And I think the first thing that struck me is that I was able to connect with them, and not Joey or Tyler, the 2 stylists that were there. They didn't have any background from hair. So I knew that the company could build me into a stylist, right? Whether I didn't know how to cut or color, that was irrelevant. I just needed to show up a certain way and have positive attitude and work hard and do it. And then second, it was just the connection with my boss and how he was able to move around the audience and kind of, you know, tune you in, and that kind of natural way of being able to interact with somebody. Education was important for me. Stage work was important for me. I wanted to be on stage. I wanted to learn how to cut hair. I wanted to teach how to cut hair. And I'm doing all those things now. So again, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's so not easy because it is hard work, but I don't have to figure it out. It's already there for me. And all I got to do is go and work. So my advice from you when you're in school is trying to look for a salon that offers education, that offers pretty much what you want. Right? Because if you want to be in, I don't know, in a hair cuttery, and you just want to cut hair and that's all you want to do, then great. As long as you're happy, that's fantastic. But I just don't want you to go to a salon and then see that it's all pretty, that it's nice, good looking people, and then when you're there, you're unhappy because you're not doing what you love to do. And that's kind of one of the reasons why we're departmentalized as well, and we specialize. Is because I don't have to be kind of distracted on something that I don't want to do, right? So again, it goes back to what do you want, looking for what you want. And then let me see. So once I graduated, I started being an assistant, and that was, again, a lot of work. You're folding towels, you are sweeping, you're there early than anybody else, you leave late. So it's definitely hard work, but again, you have Joey, you have Bailey, all these people around you that are making over $100,000 a year, and it's so easy to just absorb that, right? And it makes work much easier because I have these live examples around me that I just need to mimic and follow in the beginning, right? That's what I did. I ended up just connecting with Joey, and I would just see the way that he talked, the way that he did consultations, the way that he maneuvered his way around his clients or his guests, and I just mimicked that. For the first year, I just wanted to do the same thing that he was doing, and then eventually, of course, you grow up and you mature as a hairstylist, and you can kind of figure out your whole spiel. So that's what I recommend. I recommend going to a salon that has already the tools that you need in order to be successful. And I promise you, positive attitude, hard work, things will go out great for you.
Cool, great. So one of the things I wanted to talk about also while we're here today is why Aveda. You know, a lot of times I ask students, when you're leaving the institute, are you looking for an Aveda salon or a non-Aveda salon? Again, to some people it might be irrelevant. To me, it's about what connects us all together. We have to pick a brand that we want to work with, and to us, Aveda is the one that works best for us. So why don't we bring in your model, and why don't we start showing them some hair?
Yeah, so this is Claudia. Claudia actually works for us.
Hi.
She's an assistant here at the Boynton Beach location. I'm pretty much wanting to show you guys just a little beach wave, just because I don't know about in Wisconsin, but here in Florida, it's a super high demand that we do beach waves and that we know how to do it. I think with the beach wave, the hardest thing for people is how to set the hair yet it be natural looking, right? Because there's a very fine line between when you're doing it between a curl, like a prom curl or a glam curl, and then wave. So for me, it's heat, right? So I am doing high heat. And you might be thinking oh my God, it's gonna burn her hair. She's blonde, her hair is already compromised. I am not leaving it in the hair long enough because again, I don't want to set. I want to go more in a fast motion. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm at my highest setting. Again, the curling iron won't be in the hair long enough for it to damage the hair. I did prep her with Damage Remedy Daily Hair Repair, so I'm taking into consideration some breakage because she's blonde and heat protection, right? I prepped her with some air control. This never goes too much. You can put this whole bottle and she'll be fine. Again, I want as much grip as possible because we're doing something so natural. In terms of my direction, I go away from the face, around the face, right around the hairline, and then everything else goes back and forth. So I go towards the face, away from the face. These pieces in the front, right where I cut her face frame, the first two, I'm going backwards because I want more of a dramatic look. My curling iron always is on a diagonal, never horizontal, because this will give you a curl. This is going to give you more of a wave. Okay? So here we go. In terms of the girth or how much hair you're grabbing, it does not matter. Because again, if you grab thinner pieces or thicker pieces, that's just going to add more of a natural look because you're not being so uniform. So as I'm grabbing the hair, I'm going on a diagonal, I'm coming in with momentum, turning. As soon as my finger kind of burns a little bit, I'm pulling out and twisting. And then bringing my end through. I don't ever let go of my end just because I feel like if I let go of my hand, it almost doesn't look balanced, right? It almost looks like a curl and then straight hair. I do want a slight bit of bend. If it bends too much, a little trick, just clamp it. Just ran your curling iron through it and it'll flatten it out a little bit. I know you guys probably have some questions. We'll read those in a second. We're getting them on text. Again, I grab a piece of hair and I am going away from the face. Twist, pull, twist, pull.
What service do you find yourself doing most? What service do you find yourself doing most?
Okay, so what service do I find doing most? So for me, because we're in Florida, there is a lot of humidity and hair gets frizzy a lot. So I would say, obviously between haircuts, because again, we're departmentalized, so we specialize. So what I mean by that is that every person here does either color or cut. We don't do both. So majority of it is hair cutting, but what I find myself doing the most frequently, it would be blow dries. Just because you have your weekly blow dries that come in every week that don't even wash their hair until you wash it again the next week. So it's kind of like they're there for you. They're loyal every week, and you want to blow dry that hair and kind of make it nice and straight so they can last. Honestly, in Florida, what makes you a great blow dryer is how long can it last? Because again, there's so much frizz and humidity. So I think that would be the most thing that I do in service wise. A lot of curling, a lot of beach waves, a lot of setting. Yeah.
Question, how long were you an assistant before you got to the floor?
Okay, so how long was I an assistant? So thankfully for me, I had already graduated. So what happens is, like, for example, Claudia, I believe when she started, she was still in school. So if you start here while you're in school, you're gonna have more time. You're gonna have more time being an assistant. But for me, luckily, I already left school. So when I started, so it took me about maybe, I would say 3 months. That's what it took me to pass my test, because I was a terrible test taker. So
why don't you share the part? I think partly what people are asking is, so you're hired, and then how long is it from the time I'm hired to the time I'm actually working on a guest, right? So let's think of the question like that.
Right.
And I think the answer would be, we have 2 programs in our company, a haircutting program and a hair coloring program. And the reason for that is because once someone leaves school, again, the school does an amazing job to get you out there. The foundational stuff is all done. But then when you come here, we take you on a little different journey. We take what you already know and we embellish that so that you get stronger. Because sometimes people aren't as confident at first when they get to the salon. And again, they don't have all the tools in their pocket that they need to satisfy the clientele. So what we do is, like for Pedro, he went on a 12-week course. It was Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 3 days a week. And we taught him how to do 8 haircuts, very strong. He knew how to do a graduated bob, an angle, round layers, square layers, face framing, short layers. And then after he finished those 12 weeks, he went on the floor and started doing those cuts on guests. And then he continued to just come once a week into education to learn. Yeah, to learn. We have a 4-week barbering course, so he learned everything to do with men's hair. And then he comes once a week for the next year for 4 hours just to learn smoothing treatments, perms, extensions, things like that. But from start to being on the floor was 12 weeks for him.
12 weeks, yeah. Sorry that I went on the story. It's just it's different for everybody. But once you start that education program, it's either 12 weeks for cutting and styling or a year for color. And the reason why it's a year in color is because you don't do that once a week class after you're done with color. You'll do like occasionally workshops and things like that. But
one of the questions is, how would you recommend would you recommend doing a couple of shadowing days to make sure a salon is the best fit for you? We require that. If you came here to work or you came here to apply, we assure you that you have to be here a few days. There's a few things I want you to look at. If you go for a job in a salon, right? This is your career. Like if you're just going for a job, then it doesn't really matter. I'm going to do laundry. I'm going to answer phones. It doesn't matter. But if you're looking for a career, you need to spend some time there and shadow. You need to look at what is the team, because this is the team. This is the family you're going to spend day in and day out, right? You're going to be with them all the time. So I want to see the team. I want to see the kind of guests they're working on, right? Is this the clientele that I want to work on? It's a telling story. You know, I'm lucky that my team has built a clientele from 2 years old to 80 years old. So we have everything that walks through these doors. So there's a variety for anybody. And you're going to create your own world anyway, but you still want to see, is this the clientele I want to be working on? And then you want to see, is the location really right? Is the traffic right? Is this going to satisfy your needs? That's the first start. And once you get that down, then I want to sit down with owner or manager and I want to find out, what are the benefits? Is there continuing education? Right? But the fact of the matter is, if these guys stay here year after year after year, then there has to be something good about it. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's good to get in there and shadow for a couple of days, because you can see if the people are really happy. Okay?
Yeah, I think that's super important. Like Luca was saying, you know, nobody's forcing us to work here. My coworkers, you know, like for example, Joy, I think he's been here for like 8 years. I mean, it's almost unheard of, you know, for our educators and just you guys. You know, the industry is very transient, and it's insane how much people stay here and even sometimes leave and come back because they feel like, you know, there's something missing. People like Luca and Ilan, my other boss, those are special people that, again, have the tools for you to be successful. It's crazy. There's no way that you can't be successful in our salon other than being lazy, because again, everything is set for you. So
what are good questions to ask a salon?
What are the questions to ask a salon? So definitely what I kept repeating, what's the education? What do you offer for education? And then benefits from me. I think those two things, because they seem like it's a gray area in our industry. So I think those two things are important. Another thing is, how are you uplifting your own team? So when I first came in here, the first thing that I saw was this office full of managers. So Luca and his managers are constantly trying to figure out, how can we make the workplace better? How can we have better sales? How can we have better guest retention, new guest retention, all that good stuff. So I think communication too is very important. Obviously, you're not going to ask, hey, do you guys offer communication?
Well,
but
no.
Seeing it.
No, but I think the other thing is like also what you might want and what he might want and what she may want could be different things. Like if I ask students all the time, what's the most important thing when you leave here that you're looking for? Most students will say more education. So don't go to a salon then that doesn't offer more education if that's your thing. He also just spoke about benefits. If benefits is important to you, then find a salon that offers benefits. But don't go to a salon and say, I'm going to take this job because look, it's big and it's busy and it's fun, and then bitch about the fact that they don't have benefits for the next 4 months. Like, we don't need that. So that's why I say go out there and interview. What do you really want out of your career? Do you want benefits? Do you want education? Do you want flexibility? That's another thing. You know, we require 40 hours of work time. So if you want to work 22 hours, then our company's not right for you. That's fine. There are plenty of other ones that are. So I think you really need to soul search and say, what is it that I really want to get out of this career? And it doesn't mean that you're going to spend the rest of your life here, but at least the time that you will be with us, you'll be happy, or with any salon, you'll be happy because you chose a salon that offers what you're looking for.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's because I think also it's not a guessing game, right? When you come into the salon or when you come into work as your first week, you're not bombarded with all these new things that you didn't know, or, you know, I know even with this crisis, it's incredible. I hope, can I share this? Do you mind if I share this? But, you know.
Is it a dirty story?
It is not.
Okay, then you can share.
But, you know, Luca and Elon were just like, we had a meeting and they were just concerned about us getting paid. And they said, you know, we're going to do anything possible in order for you guys to get paid, even if you have to take a loan, you know, like stuff like that. I don't know. I feel like they don't have to do that. You know, we come in, we work, and then that's that. And everybody's going through the crisis. So what do they care, you know? So the fact that they do means a lot to me as an employer, and it makes me want to come to work and produce for my bosses. So
one of the questions, which I think is an interesting one, was there a service you didn't like when you started out?
Ooh, a service that I didn't like.
I'm going to share this one thing, and
yeah.
It wasn't that, maybe about 15 years ago, right? So now I'm in it 25 years. I didn't like doing upstyling. I just didn't like it. I had to do it because sometimes you'll have a really good guest who needs it, and I didn't want to send her elsewhere. I didn't want to send her in someone else's chair, which a lot of times people do that. I didn't want to be just a master at one thing. I did want to satisfy. This is my guest. This is the person who pays for the lifestyle I live. And so it was really, really important for me, like, okay, I don't like this, but why don't I like it? I'm going to tell you, most time we don't like something because we're not good at it. Okay, most of the time. We don't like it because we're not good at it. We don't have confidence in it. If you watch people who love to do upstyles, it's because they love to do upstyles, and that's why they're so good. So sometimes if you don't like the way something looks, you got to change the way you look at it. And so I had to change the way I looked at upstyles. So I went away for 1 week to a course every single day, 7 hours a day, I did upstyling, right? And what happened was I got really good at it because, again, today, if we wanted to do a music video or we wanted to do something famous, I remember I was called to do a celebrity's hair, and I was like, well, what if they want things that I don't know how to do? Right? I know how to cut hair, I know how to style hair, I can do anything. But what if they wanted finger waves? Because, you know, it's a production. What if they wanted a curl that I just didn't know how to achieve? Right. What if they wanted it, you know? Trust me. So I had to go there and I had to learn it and I had to master it. And after that, I was fine with it. Now, whether I choose to do it or not, that's my business. It might not be something I want to become the king of. However, I can do it if my guest is getting married. I can do it if a daughter's getting married, that kind of thing. And I can do it if the salon needs me to do it, right? Because there are some days that we're just bottled down with weddings and proms, and it's like, yeah, we can do that. And we do teach that in our course. So again, you want to look at the things. I always wonder, do people not like it because they're not good at it, or they just don't like it? Right.
Yeah.
What was yours?
For me, waxing. Man, because first of all, it's so personal, right? You're in this person's face, and you know you tell them to close their eyes so that they can relax, so you don't make eye contact, and then trying to like trim this little bit of hair out with wax that either drips or it doesn't stick, and then to rip it. Are you ripping it hard? Are you supposed to press on it? And so I think I did one, and she wasn't stoked about it. And then from that moment on, I was like, I am hanging the waxing paddle thing. I am done doing it. And I remember my friend Bailey, she's actually the top waxer in the company, and she was like, why don't I show you? And so we did a couple of trials on her, and she did them on me, and she showed me like when hair is stubborn and when it isn't. And so I felt a little bit more comfortable. Like Luca said, if they need me, if I'm the last, you know, resort, I'll do it. But other than that, yeah, waxing. Not for me.
What curling iron are you using?
Ooh, okay, so I'm using a hot tool. This is a 1.5 barrel. This is the black edition, just because I thought it was cool, but the gold one works perfect as well. Also, the Babyliss one is great, but mine is a hot tool, an inch and a half. You kind of want it like a big size, because I find that this will give you more, again, of a natural look. But again, remember, heat is the most important thing. If you have a big barrel and you hold it there with a lot of heat, you're still going to get a curl. So, good. Any other questions?
What do you do about hair that doesn't hold away well?
Ooh, yeah, perfect. So one thing I do, is that I communicate with my guests, right? So if you're a new guest in my chair and you tell me, you know what, I don't know, my hair doesn't hold, this and that. First, I would talk about a haircut. So if I know that your hair doesn't hold, I need some hidden layers. I need some kind of layering so that the hair can grip and curl. That's the first thing. Second is communicating with the guests. So the first thing that I tell my guests when I'm doing this kind of style is that it's not gonna last you a week. I just don't like to be unrealistic. I'll tell her it will last you for tonight, for what you're doing, for this whole day. But tomorrow, don't think that you're gonna wake up with beachy hair, right? Because again, once I unravel this, you'll see it's a very natural look. And then communicating with my guests. So I'll say, let me know how it works. And then next time, maybe we can try something else. Maybe we can set it more. And you won't leave wavy today, but at 6 o'clock when you get to your party, it'll be wavy. So I think it's just communicating with your guests.
I think that's also it's an opportunity at that moment to kind of teach people how to refresh it at home also.
Yeah.
Like it gives you the opportunity to, teach someone about a particular tool like he just taught you. You can teach a guest about that. They can purchase the tool, and then you can just show them how to, tomorrow when she does wake up, how do I get this to liven up again, right? Would it look exactly like his? Probably not, but it's still enough. It's going to look better than anybody else in the neighborhood, right?
One thing I do too, my inspiration from this style, which by the way, you can follow him. He's not an Aveda professional, but he's fantastic. His name is Dominic Sierra, Dom Hair on Instagram. And he has a video of him with a wig on. And he does it on himself. So usually I'll have my guests look him up and then they can get some tips from him as well.
So you always use a curling iron for beach waves, or can you use a straightening?
Oh, so yes, you can use a straightener. I don't use mine because first of all, I don't know how to do it with a flat iron. And then second, because I think it's a consumer product for me. And my teacher in Aveda, he was old school, and he always told me that a Marcel will always separate you from any other professional. So I always use a Marcel curling iron. But good question. My friend Angelica does them with a flat iron, and it works for her and for her guests. But I also think because the two plates are so hot, I find that it almost gives you too much hold. So I prefer this. I have more control with my heat.
Do you always start the same way? And I don't know what you mean by that. I'm assuming the same.
Yeah, same pattern. Yeah.
Okay. Do you ever use a large 3-prong crimp for beach waves?
You can, yes. Again, I don't have any of those because again, I think they're more of a crimper, huh?
I mean, that's a different look.
It's a little different look. This is more like undone beachy wave. I think like crimpers are more like electric, like fun.
We do it for hair shows a lot.
Yeah, we
don't do it on guests that much.
No, not that much, no.
Do you find yourself using a lot of anti-humectant to bottle humidity when styling?
Of course, yes. Again, especially because it is so humid here. Smoothing Fusion, Style Prep, Nourishing Styling Cream. I love our new Nutriplenish leave-in. I think all of those are great for humidity.
Do you do a lot of high textured hair?
Yes, of course. Because not only we're in South Florida, right, where there is millions and millions of Latinos, Latinas, and then also we have our people from Haiti a lot, so they come in as well. I don't think we do much of, how do I say it?
Well, texture is texture, so yeah. I mean,
right,
like it's
any kind of texture. I wouldn't say we do like super coarse hair per se.
You know what? Usually, if you live in Florida and you have really, really coarse hair, you're probably getting some sort of a smoothing treatment.
Yeah, to kind of tame it. Yeah, because I'm telling you, the humidity here is insane. It's like, it's out of this world. So she'll be a candidate for a Brazilian blowout or something like that for sure.
How big are your subsections?
Ooh, so it doesn't matter. So what I love about this this look too, obviously you're not gonna grab too much of a big of a section that it doesn't fit in your barrel, right? But I like to just kind of play it by ear. So I grab thick, I grab fine, I grab less hair, more hair, wherever I'm at. So it gives me more of a natural look. So I'm not technically grabbing a certain amount, but I would say the sweet spot is about the same width as your barrel, I would say. Yeah, just like blow drying, right? You wouldn't take a bigger section than what your brush would hold. Same thing with this.
How long did it take you to build your clientele?
Ooh,
and again,
great question.
His story is unique because he works really hard at it. So what do I mean by that? When you're in the Institute, because I've been to your Institute, I've been there probably every year for the last 5 or 6 years, and I know how you run your school there. And I can tell you the things that you do there, they're teaching you that right now, whether you know it or not. They're teaching you how to build a clientele and how to, listen, the game is this. How do I recruit people and how do I keep them coming back to me? That's the name of our game. How do I recruit them and how do I keep them coming back? And if you could match that, you're good to go, right? And so we have programs here. In other words, how you treat your guests. It's the service wheel. What is the guest experience from the moment they come in to the moment they leave, right? And so every step of that wheel, every pie of that wheel, we drill into them every single day. And he took the bait and ran with it. And that's why he had so many promotions, because he built a very big clientele very fast, because he recruits his guests, he hands out the things he's supposed to hand out. Every guest of his has a retail experience. Every guest of his gets the pure 15-minute shampoo. Like every guest every day is what he does. So, I mean, I don't want to make his head too big right now, but he does do that every single day, and that's why he reaps the benefits of it, right? So he's probably, we have to manage him less than others because he just takes it and does it.
Right.
So I share that.
I think that's the key, what he said, every time, every day. I think consistency is probably one of the most hardest yet most fundamental important things to do, is to do the same exact experience every single time. I mean, think about it. If you were my guest and you got a 15-minute shampoo experience, then you recommend your sister and then she doesn't get the 15-minute shampoo experience. She gets a 5-minute, half-ass shampoo. Then you already ruined her experience. The expectation that you had from her sister, now it's not the same. So I think being consistent, I think leaving your stuff at home, it's important, always catering to your guests. Recruiting, so whether I'm out with my girlfriend having a drink or out in the supermarket, I always have my cards. I always have, I'm always looking at hair. I think once you start doing hair, that's all you look at is people's hair. And I hand them the card. I'm like, oh my God, who does your hair? Oh, I'm a hairstylist, blah, blah, blah. We'd love to see you. Here's my card. You get 50% off of your first services if you come in. I would love to have you in. Then boom, next thing you know, you have them in there. Your guest's hair, right? That's your canvas. It's your billboard. So always doing amazing hair. And I think having a positive attitude, treating people with manners, yes, please, thank you, escorting them to the bathroom, grabbing their purse and putting them under your station. I think a lot of times we skip on the little things, and they're so fundamental, and it's almost like manners per se.
And you have to think of something like, people always say, oh, I don't want a job, I want a career, right? But inside this career, there's a job that we have to do every day, like it or not. So I'll always say, yeah, I have a career here. This is my career. But inside that, we have a job to do every single day. So I always try to teach them, if this were a play, right, a Broadway play, you have a job to do from opening to closing, right? From when the curtain goes up to the curtain goes down, you have a job to do. You have a performance to meet. And so that's what we do. When the doors open in the morning and his shift starts, he has a performance until the shift's over. Mm-hmm. And it's none of this bullshit of hanging. Listen, if he's in the back room, he ain't making money, right? He doesn't need to be here then. He could be home. If he's here, it's about delivering a service that people just can't get anywhere else. So I don't know if you did that, but
no, of course, yeah. I think again, you have the tools, right? The Pure has the tools. So not only Pure feeds you a lot of guests, but then you have your cards you send a friend. So for every guest, every time they get 3 cards, and they get for every person you recommend, you get $10 off, and so does the person you recommend that gets $10 off. So I think also keeping the guests.
Yeah, but I'm sure the Institute, and I don't know, I'm just guessing, but I'm sure the Institute has all these little things that we do in our salon. We didn't make it up. It's part of a bigger industry, part of a bigger brand that we're attached to. Right. So when we walk around with baskets and you have it there at the school. I know that, right? Baskets, pre-booking, retail experience, how we greet a guest, a salon tour. I'm sure you do a school tour. Like, it's all that stuff that we do. That's what connects us. We're the same. We just make money at it over here. You're paying for it over there, right? But that's what you need to do. Right. They're there to get you to here.
Right.
Okay? So another question was, what was the hardest part transitioning from school to salon?
What was the hardest part from transitioning?
Leaving his mommy.
Yeah, I think actually she's watching, so mom, love you. I think leaving home is the hardest thing for at least like the first 6-7 months. But again, I started working in just 7 days. I was like, get me in here. I want to be here because I don't have anything else going on, right? Because I didn't live here. So I think at some point they become your family. And I know it sounds corny, but they really do, because you spend most of the time with them, and then they're passionate about the same thing you are. So there's a lot of connection, and you get along with your employees to the point that then you're there in your personal life. So I think that was the hardest part.
What about the part like, what's the difference of school? You got to take yourself back. Remember, you were in school every day doing guests, right? And you had a teacher, and you had to clock in and do all your stuff, and then you come to a place of business,
right?
And now you're in that. So
I think
what was hard?
You know what was hard? I think confidence. I'm not gonna lie. I think confidence, even though you try to fake it till you make it. I think because you always had somebody in school, I cut too short. Miss, can you come over? Right. So when you're here, that's it. You're by your own. Sure, people come and help you, but it's your show. It's your chair. It's it's your guest. So I think like that confidence of, I'm the professional, I can do this, I'm going to recommend product to you, I'm going to show you how to do your hair. I think that was the most challenging in terms of transition.
Do you focus a lot on product sale?
Yes, of course. So I don't know.
Well, before you go on your thing, I want to share a story. We had a young man who had an amazing clientele, amazing guest list, and they loved him. They thought he was really good. He did really great hair. He did amazing hair. And but he never sold a product to a guest. He never shared the knowledge. Even if he showed them, he just didn't follow through with it, right? And I remember one day I came in and I said, I gotta come at this with a different angle. So I said to him, listen, today what I want you to do is I want you to work with just water, no more products. And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, no products, just water. And he's like, I don't get what you're talking about. And I said, no, you're such a great hairdresser. You don't need product. I want you to work with water. And he's like, well, wait. You know how frizzy, how humid it is? I need something to get it smooth. And I was like, well, listen, you're so good. Take a big brush, wrap it around that hair, and pull the hell out of it. You'll get it smooth. And he's like, wait, that makes no sense to me. He said, wait, what if somebody wants whole body? I need lift. I said, well, take a little brush and get it to the root and work it. You're good. You're a hairdresser. He says, I don't understand why I can't use products. I said, because here's the thing. You make your guests look so good, but yet none of them have the stuff that you get to use with them. You get the tool to create this, and yet they go home and don't have that. Don't you care about that? So for me, it's never about the money, although we reap the benefits of that.
Sure.
What it's about for me is, can you duplicate this at home? Because when she leaves today, this is my billboard. This is my advertising. I don't get people, there's a million ways you could say you could get people. Here's how I got people. When she leaves here, when somebody says, where do you get your haircut? Where do you get your color? Who does your hair? What salon do you go to? You always look great. That's what I need. This is free advertisement for me, and you can't even pay for this kind of stuff. You can put ads, you can go on social media, you can do it, knock your brains out. Put out a good work onto the streets, this is gonna bring you back 3, 4, 5 guests. Right. When she goes back to work or she goes home, people are gonna ask her. So I need her to continue to look that way, not just one day every 6 weeks. She's gotta look this way when she wakes up a week from now. That's why I said earlier, teach her how to do this, because I still want people to be asking her, who does your hair? Now for you, on the floor, in the trenches, tell me how important product is for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a connection too. I think people, you're more, how do I say it, at risk of losing people that don't purchase product versus those who purchase. So the connection, right? And I think, you know what, let me keep it simple. I think it's just because it's part of their experience. I just don't know, I don't see why you wouldn't do it. That's my thing, right? A lot of people are like, oh, I feel like I'm selling product and things like that. Well, I think that's on them, right? They are their own kind of wall, because I think about educating my guests, right? So I have Nutriplenish, I'm leaving, I'm using it on you because you said in the consultation that your hair was dry, that it needed moisture, that it needed to be a little light, it couldn't be cream. So I recommended the leave-in from Nutriplenish, which is a spray, it hydrates and moisturizes. So that's the way that I see it. I think I just see it as part of my job, and I am going to show my guests how to do her hair at home, and then that's that. And then obviously doing it every single time. I mean, you can, that weekly blow dryer that I talked to you about, that they come in, I do it all the time in the basket. And they already know to say no. They're like, no, I'm good. I'm going to be here next week. But it's not about that, you know. It's just.
In your personal opinion, how important is social media presence in hiring a potential stylist at your salon? I'll tell you what I think about social media. I think social media keeps people relevant. I think it keeps people connected to you when they're not here, which is really good. For example, if we have the ring lights and everything, right, fine. But if you're constantly putting work out there and touching base with people, when I'm home a week later, 2 weeks, 3 weeks after I've left the salon, I'm still connecting with my hairdresser. I'm seeing the work that they're doing. I'm still in their life. I'm still relevant in their brain, right? Because you got to remember something. People are marketing our guests all the time. The way we market for guests, other people are marketing for guests too. And so think about every new guest you get, and we do hundreds every month, new guests. They all just left a hairdresser. They've been recruited away from a hairdresser for one reason or another. So when you talk about social media, I think it's important to keep your name out there. I think it's important. And listen, we market it. We put specials. We put holiday things out there. I mean, we're constantly doing it. We're constantly driving it. And feel free to go on his page or any of our company pages. But social media, I believe, is important in this day and age to be relevant and to always be in the minds of our guests when they're not here. You want to share anything on that?
Yeah, no, I think, first of all, that's what we live in, right? We're so disconnected yet so connected because of social media. So, I mean, I even think it's just like a personal thing too, you know? Like when you see your guests talk about, you know, their husbands all the time they come in, and you see their husband, you know, and then you comment, oh, that's great. So I think like the connection, as much as the advertisement for the hair and showcasing your work is amazing, almost having like a digital portfolio, I think connecting with the guests, like Luca said, is an awesome opportunity. You know?
So 2 questions about products. What's your favorite product to use in Florida weather? And the other one that goes along with that is, what's your favorite Aveda product for fine hair?
Ooh.
So Florida weather and fine hair.
Yes, so Florida weather, I would say Nourishing Styling Cream. Let me grab that real quick.
And one of the questions is, how long do we book for guests? Are you on 45 or an hour?
Hour.
So he books 1 hour. It has a 15-minute shampoo that we do. It's a signature shampoo. It's a massage, it's a shampoo, it's a hot towel, it's aroma, it's massaging of the hands. And so it takes the guest 15 minutes in that back room, but then it's a quiet, private room. It's dark, has spa-like music in it. And so he does that for 15 minutes, and then he's out on the floor for 45. If we take him down to 45, then assistants are shampooing his head when he gets to that level.
Okay, favorite product. For Florida weather, I would say Nourishing Styling Cream from Smoothing Fusion. The reason why I love this is because it's very versatile. So it does not need heat in order for it to work and do its thing. So not only can she blow dry her hair, smooth, straight, without no frizz, but also she can wear it naturally, air dried, and still have no frizz and humidity. So I think in terms of bang for your buck and frizz and humidity, this one, also because of the girth of it. So it's very thick. So for that cursed, frizzy hair that's thirsty for humidity, this is the perfect one. And then our new star product, Nutriplenish leave-in conditioner. This is my favorite for fine hair right now. The reason why is because, again, you have all of these things in one. Not only is protecting from heat, right? So up to 450 degrees. Oh, sorry. I'm not used to the camera. It hydrates hair and it moisturizes hair, right? The difference between the hydrate and the moisture is exterior, right? So it's what we see, the shine of it. And then the interior is the hydration, right? So I love this because you're getting all those factors in one. And it's not heavy. It's not a cream-based product. It's a spray, so you can be generous. It detangles hair. So this is my favorite. It used to be Damage Remedy Daily Hair Repair for fine hair. Now it's this one.
Do you think handing out cards has actually helped building a clientele?
Of course.
I mean, you have to really look at this. I mean, we're partners, right? I'm going to give him what he needs, and he's going to do here what he needs to do to satisfy the business. His job in this world is building a clientele. We're going to help him on our end, but on his end, he has to give every guest marketing cards. He has to do it. Whatever marketing program a company has is fine, but you got to do it. That's what's relevant, is that you have to do it. So he's going to do that. When he's out on the street, he has a different kind of card, a little special, little deal. He could market people when he's out in a club or he's out in a restaurant. Fine. You have to promote yourself all the time.
Yes.
It's not always easy. Sometimes it doesn't fit your personality to be speaking about it. But I'm going to give you the famous question, right? Who does your hair? Who does my hair? Why? Well, I'm a hairdresser. You're a hairdresser? That's all you got to say. And the conversation will open up. They'll ask you a million things, and you'll just do the answering. Yep. So you don't even have to really put a lot into it other than what you know. They're going to ask you all the questions.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think also, like, not going away. Like, don't.
2 minutes we got.
Oh, 2 minutes?
This is fun now.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, once we're, like, used to the screen.
Oh, you know what? Cancel the 3 o'clock session. Just keep us on.
Going back to the cards, don't go out one day just to recruit, you know? Do it on your day by day, you know, when you're in the grocery store. When it almost seems more natural for me that way. So I think it's very important for you to pass your cards, and I think it should be natural. It should just be done in your social life.
Yeah, and so what are our handles, right? Instagram handles. So Pure Aveda, it's Pyure Aveda. So you'll find us on Facebook and Instagram, I guess, if you just Google that.
Yeah, and we have our work in there too, so they'll show you our Instagram.
Yeah, even if you go on our YouTube channel, again, it's Pure, Pyure, Salon, or Aveda Salon, you'll see that all of our hair shows are up there, and some of the fun stuff that we've done over the years. Yeah. So listen, I want to thank, again, the Institute. I think that what you've done here is amazing. That's why we jumped on doing it. During a crummy time, you guys pulled it all together and made a fun day out of this, at least for us. And I want to thank our model. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
And of course, Pedro, I always love him and love what he does for us. And I know what you want to share with us.
Yeah, no, thank you for the time. Thank you for Aveda Wisconsin for having us. It's been a great pleasure. And thank you for keeping us, taking us away from home a little bit, because being home, it's hard times, but we're here, we're doing it, stay home, and hopefully soon we can go back to normal. Hopefully Luca can take me up to Wisconsin.
Okay, next time I come up to teach, I'm going to bring him with me. How's that, okay?
Okay, so for the finale, I have Control Force. The reason why I use Control Force is because it kind of gives me a good hold. Sometimes people are scared, but it's awesome. I don't think air control would do enough. And then dry shampoo. And this is to get rid of the shine. I want more of a matte finish. And then unravel. I wouldn't use a comb or a brush. I would use your hands just because it's a little bit more messy, a little bit more, I don't know, undone. And that's kind of what you're looking for. And then Claudia, I don't know if you have to stand and go towards the camera a little bit.
Ready?
Yeah. But you see how it's a little bit more undone. It still looks done right, and I think those pieces in the front gives it a dramatic look, and then turn around for me. And then you can see, let me see if I could, there we go. Beautiful. You see how it's kind of done, but not done. Great.
Great.
Guys,
Thank
thank
you,
you so much for coming.
Appreciate
Have
it.
a good one, okay?
Take care.
Be safe.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing. Thank you, Luca. Thank you, Pedro. That was so much fun, truly. Next, we have Terri Wojak coming in for a deep dive into dermaplaning. Really excited about this for our spa students and for those spa professionals. Terri is highly sought after, has been working in this industry for over 20 years. Along with facial plastic surgeon Dr. Stephen Dayden, Terri has developed True You Aesthetics and True You Laser, two corporations focusing on providing advanced education for professionals in the industry, in the aesthetic industry. She is a respected authority in skincare, especially in a medical setting, education, and then business development on multiple levels. Terri has been a guest educator for the Institute many times before, and we're so excited that she's going to spend some time with us. So sit back and let's welcome Terri.
Hi everyone, thank you very much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and be able to teach during this time because I'm missing my passion. So I'm sure a lot of you are missing yours as well. So hopefully you are learning a lot of great things from webinars and videos like this, and you're taking this time to really educate yourself. It is really important. So thank you all for attending. A little bit about my background. I was with True You Education for 13 years, and I recently started my own education company called Aesthetics Exposed Education. So if any of you know me from my book, Aesthetics Exposed, that's the name of my education company. So this is basically a book that kind of contains everything that you would need to know to work in a medical setting. So it goes from everything from consultation to, it has a chapter on dermaplaning, chapter on peels, anatomy, skin conditions. It goes into injectables, lasers, surgery procedures. So it has a lot in here. So this is something, if anyone's interested in, you can contact me later and we can see how to get this out to you. I need to make sure the post offices are still open. So anyway, I'm with Aesthetics Exposed Education right now. We're really excited. We're going to have our first class April 27th, but that is put off a little bit. So we will definitely let you know when we have those. Okay, so today we are going to talk about dermaplaning. And dermaplaning is a great treatment to do. It is very, you should be under the direction of a medical professional if you're going to be doing dermaplaning. And I believe that's law in Wisconsin. But it is different in every single state. So in some states, estheticians can just perform dermaplaning. In other states, they need to be under a physician. So it's really important that you find out exactly with your state, what's legal and what's not. So with that, we're going to go to our dermaplaning presentation. So just where we can talk a little bit about dermaplaning. Okay, so dermaplaning. And products that we're doing after can penetrate deeper. And it just gives the skin like that nice finished look. And it's great before makeup application. So a lot of brides will get dermaplaning done before their wedding, and a lot of people will get it before like a big event because the makeup goes on really smooth and your skin just looks really refined and even. You could see in that close-up picture, you could see some of the fuzz on the dermaplaning blade. So a few frequently asked questions. So before we even start with the treatment, one of the things I like to do is make sure that my clients have realistic expectations. And with that, one of the things that they always ask is, will my hair grow back darker and thicker? First of all, vellus hair is different than terminal hair. So it grows in a very fine manner and typically regrows on a monthly basis. So it's that really fine peach fuzz hair, and you cannot make the hair grow faster by shaving it. The only thing is when the hair grows back in, it may feel a little blunt at first. And this is normal and there's no reason for concern. So making sure that your client knows ahead of time that they may feel the hair a little blunt when it comes back in is very important. One of the things I always say is anything you tell a client before their appointment is seen as information. Anything you tell them after their appointment is seen as an excuse. So, little example. If you were to do dermaplaning on a client and then the client were to feel a little bit of blunt hair coming back in, and they call and say, you said the hair wouldn't grow back thicker and darker, and my hair feels thicker. If you say, oh, remember, we talked about that in the appointment, they'll usually be okay with it. But if you tell them that it's just a little blunt at first and this is normal, they may think you're just making an excuse. So always make sure you have these conversations with the client ahead of time. And then another frequently asked question is, how often should I receive treatment? And treatment can be done every 2 weeks. It wouldn't hurt anybody to get it done every 2 weeks. But because of the hair growth cycle and that hair typically grows back on a monthly basis, usually people get dermaplaning every 3 to 4 weeks. Every client that I've had with dermaplaning, especially, would have just a monthly repeat appointment with me because they love the way their skin feels. And there are other treatments we could do along with it, which we will talk about as well. All right, so indications. So like we talked about, vellus hair removal. So a lot of women, especially like as we age, what happens is we get more of that blonde, fine hair on the skin. And a lot of people don't like that. It makes the makeup go on harder. Makeup can tend to stick to the hairs, and it's just, people just don't like to have hair on their face. So that's going to be our first indication. Another indication is acne grades 1 or 2. Acne grades 1 and 2 are considered acne simplex. So these, acne grade 1 is basically just a combination of like open and closed comedones. Acne grade 2 is open and closed comedones with maybe a few papules and pustules. The big thing with acne grades 1 and 2, how they're different from 3 and 4, is that they're not overly inflamed. So once we get to those grades 3 and 4, we're not going to want to do dermaplaning on them because they're likely going to have a lot of inflamed lesions on the skin. And we don't want to go over those inflamed lesions or irritate the skin in any way. A dry or dehydrated epidermis. Back to acne. So acne, it does help to loosen the congestion as well. So I like doing dermaplaning before I do extractions on an acne grade 1 or 2, and the extractions come out really easily after you do that because you're getting off that dead skin that's blocking the surface. A dry or dehydrated epidermis. So the picture they have up there, that's pretty dry. And that, dermaplaning can be done with oil or without oil. There's it's kind of like a dry oil that they use. And if somebody had as dry a skin as they did in this picture that is up here, I would definitely use the oil prior to the dermaplaning. Because when the skin is that dehydrated or that dry, the blade can get stuck. It can kind of nick a little bit or get stuck on that dry, dead skin. So if somebody's really dehydrated, that's usually when I go for that oil treatment with the dermaplaning. Most other cases, I typically do the dermaplaning dry. I don't use the oil with it, but it can definitely be used. It's basically personal preference. I think you get a little more exfoliation by not using the oil. But then again, if somebody is really dry skin, then I don't want to irritate their skin anymore. And I don't want that blade to get stuck in the dead skin. It's also good to prepare the skin for topical treatments. So we're going to talk about what treatments you can do dermaplaning with at the end of the presentation. But it is really effective because you're taking off those first couple layers of dead skin cells. So you're able to penetrate products in the skin more effectively because you did that initial exfoliation. So especially when we're dealing with things like superficial peels, those can be more effective if you do the dermaplaning first. Another great indication is to remove crusted pigmentation 7 to 10 days after non-ablative laser treatments. So what I mean by non-ablative laser treatments are like IPL and visible light lasers. Typically, when you're working on pigmentation with those, what happens is that pigment tends to rise to the surface and looks like coffee grounds on the skin. And if you go over and do dermaplaning 7 to 10 days after, it's literally like an eraser that takes off all that superficial pigmentation and the skin looks really smooth and even. Other non-ablative laser treatments can be resurfacing lasers. So this gets really confusing because the resurfacing lasers, there are non-ablative and there are ablative. Ablative means to heat up and remove. So the ablative laser treatments are going to be much more aggressive. And those would be like your fractionated CO2, your traditional erbium, your traditional CO2 laser, anything that's non-fractionated and fractionated CO2. For non-ablative laser treatments and when we're dealing with resurfacing lasers, they're mainly going to be the fractionated laser. Fractionated lasers, so such as like Fraxel or Pixel, some of the other ones, but they'll basically make tiny holes in the skin and they're treating areas of the skin and leaving healthy areas behind. So if you do a treatment like that, or if they've had a treatment like that, again, that dead skin and crusted pigment still rises to the surface. So that dermaplaning would be great to do along with that. Here is just a before and after, so you can see that not every single vellus hair is removed. And that's something really important, again, to tell your client, because we don't want them to think that they're going to have nothing left over. Sometimes you may go over an area a few times and that hair just won't come off, and you don't want to overly aggressively go over that area and cause any like chafing or scratching or scraping or anything like that. Our contraindications. So number one is blood thinners. If somebody's on blood thinners, it's best not to treat them. If you do get a nick or scratch or scrape on the skin, which is possible, and again, you have to tell your clients that and have a consent form with that information on it, the blood could, since there's a blood thinner, it could bleed excessively and it may be harder to get under control. Typically, if someone does get a little scratch or scrape during the treatment, you can use a little styptic pencil, or you can use like these little styptic matches that they have on Amazon, and it just stops the bleeding. So it kind of burns a little bit for a second, but it stops the bleeding on the client. Another contraindication is uncontrolled diabetes. And that is, again, due to the chance that uncontrolled diabetes, they have really poor wound healing. So if you were to create a wound on the skin, it wouldn't heal as easily. If the diabetes is under control, then you can do the client. If you're not sure, always get a note from their doctor. That'll help to ease your mind and make sure that you're doing everything safely. Terminal hair growth. So you're not going to do dermaplaning like on a man's beard and mustache, because that's terminal hair. And terminal hair, with that terminal hair, the blade can get stuck very easily with that terminal hair growth, and you're not going to get as close of a shave as you would without the terminal hair growth with that vellus hair. So we're not going to treat terminal hair growth. However, if you're doing a woman and she has like some terminal hairs on her upper lip or her chin, or a few on her cheeks, that's completely fine. It's not going to hurt it by any means. It's just, you don't want excessive terminal hair growth, because again, that would be too hard to dermaplane with. Cold sores. Anyone that has cold sores should not be treated with any skincare treatment. Once they have a cold sore, you should not touch their face. I have a story that I always tell, because, people are always begging me to do treatments on them. Even if they have a cold sore when they think it's gone. But I had a friend once who, she had like the remnants of a cold sore, and she kept swearing to me it wasn't a cold sore and it was just a pimple, and she wanted a chemical peel. And I kept telling her that she could get a herpetic breakout over her entire face if we did the treatment. She swore up and down that she put a hot rag on it and it was just a pimple, and that she's never had a cold sore in her life. So I did the peel, completely avoided the area, and lo and behold, she had a herpetic breakout over her entire face that night. So it is really important that if somebody has cold sores, that you don't touch them at all. They're highly contagious and can spread very easily. Open wounds, that's a given. We're really not going to treat anyone with open wounds either. Your inflamed acne, your grades 3 and 4, sorry, that says 3 or 5, I'll have to fix that. But your inflamed acne grades 3 and 4, you could see in that picture there, usually they'll have so many lesions that it's hard to go around with that dermaplaning blade as well. You don't want to be chopping off acneic lesions or, scratching or scraping areas that are open on the skin. So it's just best to get that acne under control before you do dermaplaning. Another thing before I forget with acneic skin, if somebody has grade 1 or 2 acne and you do dermaplaning on them, I always say to use a toner or a treatment product or something with salicylic acid in it afterwards. And the reason being is because your oil and dead skin get stuck in that congested follicle. And when you're shaving off the hair, you're basically taking off like the wick. It's kind of like a wick in a candle. It's the wick for the oil to come out on the surface of the skin to protect it like it normally would, and then be removed at night. When that hair is no longer there, some of that oil can get stuck in the skin. So I always recommend using a beta hydroxy acid or salicylic acid afterwards to make sure that it doesn't get too congested. Highly inflamed rosacea. If somebody has that really mild rosacea, there are 4 different stages of rosacea. So if someone just has that underlying redness, the erythematotelangiectasic rosacea, then that's fine to do dermaplaning on. If they have really inflamed rosacea, such as papulopustular rosacea or really severe redness or anything like that, then you would want to wait to do the treatment until you get that under control. Especially with the papulopustular rosacea, you do have actual papules and pustules, and again, you don't want to go over those areas. The presence of burns, rashes, or other infections, that again is pretty self-explanatory. We're not going to do any clients that have any of those things because we don't want to spread any infection or rashes or hurt any of their burns or anything like that. Another thing is if they have moles, you have to go around the moles. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but just to make sure, always go around the moles. So for the procedure, it's very important that you have that thorough consultation with your client. Make sure that they understand that there is a chance of a minor scratch or scrape on the skin. The client has to remain still. So when I am first treating the client, I let them know, it's really important that you remain still. If you need to make any, sudden movements, or if you have like an itch or something like that, please let me know instead of just moving your head. Because some people, they may go to sneeze, or they may go to scratch their face and accidentally put their hand in the way of the blade. So it's really important that you let them know, I have a medical blade in my hand that's very sharp. So please, try to remain still and let me know if you need to make any sudden movements. For the upper lip, when you go over the upper lip, what happens sometimes is that fuzz or that hair tends to go up the nose a little bit and tickle. So that can cause somebody to sneeze. So when you're going over the upper lip, you want to inform the client to breathe out their nose. Again, the treatment goal is exfoliation, so it may not remove every vellus hair. You're not going to dermaplane the nose, the neck, or the eyes. The nose can be done. It's more of an advanced treatment. What I usually say is, you really want to practice with your dermaplaning first and get really comfortable. And then when you're comfortable, you can do things like the nose. The neck, you're not going to do. You can do the sides of the neck, like the very sides, like up towards the ear, because a lot of people have like a tuft of hair there. And then the eyes you're not going to do, but you can go around the eyes, of course. And then, of course, avoid moles or any other raised lesions on the skin. So this is just showing the scalpel and the blade. I have a live one here to show you too. Unfortunately, I couldn't do a treatment and get into the spa because we're on lockdown. But this is just a picture of the scalpel and the blade. And you can see that the scalpel handle has like a little groove on it. And it kind of has that diagonal right where the 10R is on the blade. And that 10R fits directly onto that diagonal onto the actual scalpel handle. It fits in underneath. And the blades that I like to use are 10R. So some people will use different blades. I really like the 10R because they're rounded edges. So having that rounded edge is a lot safer when you're going around the nose or under the eye or above the upper lip. Because if you've seen some of those old blades, they have a really sharp tip. So so I really like the rounded blades. And that's just how it goes on. Okay, so for the protocol, first, what you're going to do is your non-dominant hand is going to hold the skin taut about 2 to 3 inches. Then your dominant hand holds the scalpel at a steady 45-degree angle. So you're always going to make sure that you have a flat, taut surface. So this is really important. When I see people start dermaplaning, they get really excited and they start dermaplaning with most people are right-handed, but I know some are left-handed with their dominant hand. And what really is important is to get that surface angle smooth so that you can do the dermaplaning without scratching or scraping. So you want to take your fingers and get that flat, taut surface. Sometimes you have to move your fingers like from side to side a little bit to make sure, like I try to get like a nice square in between and then treat the skin that way. And I do have a video where I'll show you guys some of the techniques. You're always going to back sweep first for control. So, you're going to be going towards you. So when you're going to be standing or you're going to be behind the client and all the movements are going to be towards you. But what you're going to do first to get that control is you're going to do the back sweep. And then after you do the back sweep, you just go forward. So that back sweep gives you a lot of control first. And then smaller sections provide more control. So when you first start out, what you're doing is you're using those smaller sections because you have more control with the blade. When you start getting faster and better at it, you can start taking bigger sections and moving a little faster around. So some of the treatment steps are, number one, you're going to cleanse the skin thoroughly. So that's with any treatment. You want to make sure you get the makeup off and your skin is thoroughly cleansed. Then you're going to degrease the skin. So a lot of people use different degreasers. You can use simple alcohol to degrease the skin. Some people use acetone. I feel like acetone is a little too drying and too aggressive. But if you really want to degrease that skin and get that deeper exfoliation, then they would do acetone. A lot of companies use like an alpha or beta hydroxy or a combination alpha and beta hydroxy prepping solution. And that'll just help to ensure that there's no oils on the surface, that the skin is nice and dry, and that you can go on with the dermaplaning. After that, you're going to blot the skin to make sure it's dry. And usually I just use Kleenex with that. So I just blot it, make sure it's dry. Then you'll perform your dermaplaning with the instructions that we stated before. And then afterwards, you're going to apply your treatment products. So whatever treatment products or serums you want them to have. I usually recommend vitamins A, C, and E, and peptides. So really bringing back those vitamins to the skin that they need, and peptides to help to build and support collagen and elastin growth. And then you're going to apply your moisturizer and sunscreen, of course, and describe to the client that to stay out of the sun and to wear sunscreen for at least the next 10 days. So post-treatment options. Now, after dermaplaning, like I said, things are going to penetrate more effectively. So one of the good things to do is an alpha hydroxy acid peel up to 30% at about a 3.0 pH. And the alpha hydroxy acid peel, the one that I love with dermaplaning is lactic acid. Lactic acid has those brightening and hydrating properties. So if you do a dermaplaning and then you do a mild lactic peel after, I can't explain to you how great of a glow the client has. So the client has a really nice refreshed look. Their skin is usually glowing. It helps to hydrate. So that's probably the thing I do most with dermaplaning is a lactic acid peel. You can also do a beta hydroxy acid peel up to 20% at 2.0 pH. So beta hydroxy acid would be salicylic. Salicylic is the only beta hydroxy acid. So that would be good for anyone, those grades 1 and 2 acne, especially with like a lot of oil or that really thick, oily congestion or really rough surface skin. That's what beta hydroxy acid peels would be best for and really make a big difference. LED. So LED helps to stimulate the respiratory components of our cells and helps to stimulate ATP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate, and what it is it's basically like energy for our cells. So just like humans need food for nutrition to run and cars need gas to run, our cells need ATP to run. So LED really helps to stimulate that ATP and just give that overall rejuvenated appearance. LED helps with inflammation. It helps to increase circulation in the skin. And then different colors have different properties. So for instance, blue LED is good for your acne clients because it's going to fight P. acnes bacteria. Red is going to be for your anti-aging clients because the red helps, and amber as well. Red and amber help to stimulate collagen elastin production, increase circulation, decrease inflammation. And then infrared as well is great anti-aging, but it's also very healing as well. So infrared is typically what they use, like if somebody had a little irritation from the dermaplaning or their skin was really sensitive, then you can do something like the infrared light after to calm it down. Microcurrent can be done. So just like we know microcurrent helps to lift and firm the muscles of the skin of the face, you can do a nice dermaplaning before that just to give the skin a really nice look after, because they'll get that smooth texture along with that microcurrent, the lifting and firming. Ultrasound. Ultrasound helps to penetrate product into the skin. So after you're already doing the dermaplaning, getting rid of those dead skin cells on the surface, you're making way for products to penetrate more effectively. Now, if you use the ultrasound and at the right frequency, it depends on what frequency you use to get the right amount of ultrasound into the skin. So really around, don't quote me on this now, I just drew a blank. So I think it's 2 megahertz is about 40 times more product penetration into the skin, but I'll double check on that. Dermaplaning is also great after microneedling, or before microneedling, I'm sorry. So if anyone has had microneedling or does the procedure, you'll notice that the skin tends to feel really dry and tight after the treatment. And by doing the dermaplaning first, it helps to eliminate that, that post-treatment dryness and tightness on the skin, because you're getting rid of an accumulation of those dead skin cells before you're going in and doing the needling. Microneedling is a great procedure. I love doing it with dermaplaning. It really gives a great effect to the skin. Laser or IPL. So just like you can do dermaplaning 7 to 10 days after laser or IPL, you can also do dermaplaning immediately before, because visible light lasers and IPL are working beneath the surface of the skin. So specific lasers and IPL for like discolorations and overall skin rejuvenation can be done right after a dermaplaning treatment. And then in the medical world, some medical technicians use ALA, or aminolevulinic acid. And what ALA is it's a photosensitizing product that is put on the skin to photosensitize abnormal cells and P. acnes bacteria. And with that photosensitivity, they go in and do either an LED, a laser, or an IPL after, and it makes the treatment that much more effective. And it's real to get the ALA into the skin. A lot of physicians will do things like microdermabrasion or dermaplaning or peels to help to prepare that skin for the ALA. There is a cosmetic version of ALA that's available now. I actually am working part-time for the company. It's called GlycoAla, and GlycoAla is the newest form of photodynamic therapy, is what it's called, for estheticians. So if you're interested in that, you can reach out to me as well. So with the combination treatments, it's important to establish your baseline before performing each procedure individually. So you want to perform them individually before you combine them. So if somebody had some sort of reaction or something, you would know what it was from. So for instance, if someone's never had a lactic acid peel before, you wouldn't do dermaplaning with that lactic acid peel on the same day. You would want to make sure you did the lactic acid peel on its own and that the skin was fine, it wasn't too sensitized, and then you can go in and do the dermaplaning prior. Pre and post care is essential. So making sure that the client uses, again, I'm really adamant about those vitamins A, C, and E, and then peptides for anti-aging to, to help to build and repair the skin. You could follow up 7 days post-treatment earlier if it's a less aggressive procedure. And always make sure you get before and after photos. They can be a lifesaver. So make sure you get them, because some people will say, I don't see result, or if they did have any sort of complication or anything, you would be able to see that before picture and see what could have happened in there. So disposal, this little blue container to the left is what you can use to take your scalpel blades off. And I'll show you that in a minute, how you can take the scalpel blade off with it. But then these need to be put in a biohazard sharps container. And those biohazard sharps container need to be disposed of properly. Most states, you can't just put them in the garbage. I believe some states you can, but you usually have to bring them to like a pharmacy, a medical office, or get them picked up by like Stericycle or a local company that does biohazardous waste. And then here are the different treatment protocols. So we have a left-handed and a right-handed. And if you notice with the left-handed, like I said, you're always going to be standing, you're always going to be doing the treatment towards you. So if you're behind the client, you're going to be doing as many movements as you can, moving up towards you. And then if you're left-handed, you're going to go to the left side of the client, and then you're going to do the other moves towards you that way. If you're right-handed, it's going to be the same exact thing. You're going to be doing your movements towards you. So you're going to be standing from the back and get as much as you can. And then when you're ready and you can only do sideways movements, you're right-handed, so you're going to go to the right side of the client. And again, make sure all movements are towards you. So thank you very much. I'm going to show you a video, so don't go anywhere yet. And I forgot to share my Facebook and Instagram. I thought I just put it up there, but it must not have saved. So my Facebook is Aesthetics Exposed Education, and Instagram is Terri Wojak 12. If anyone wants to follow on Instagram or Facebook. Okay. Okay, hello. So I just want to show you a few things with the dermaplaning blades. So there are a couple different blades you can do. We have the plastic blade here these are good for practicing with. I always say too, when you are practicing, make sure that you're doing it on yourself first. Then afterwards, you want to practice on your enemies, then your friends, then your family. But all seriousness, you do need to practice, and you can practice on a peach, you can practice on your thighs, you can practice on your arm, and then again, practice on other people. But you want to make sure it's kind of like riding a bike. Like once you get it, and there's really no need for concern. But some people, it takes a little longer, and some people get it right away. So some people just go in with the dermaplaning, pick it up like that. Some people it takes a little longer, but usually once you get it, then you get it. And yes, I will answer questions. I haven't seen the questions yet because I was in the presentation mode. So let me show the video, a little bit of the video, and then we will go to the questions. So this is showing with the right hand, and you can see that she's doing all the movements towards her. She's behind the client and doing the movements towards her. And usually you're doing about 4 to 6 swipes in an area. So if you see her, she's doing, I think, 6. So you do 4 to 6 swipes in an area. If somebody has a really thick, tough skin, hold on. Sorry, I didn't realize you weren't seeing the video. Okay, now hopefully you can see the video now. So you can see, sorry, the music is kind of loud. But so you can even contour the tops of the eyebrows with the tip of the blade. You can get right between the eyebrows. And you always want to be really careful around the eyebrows. What I like to do is when I'm doing the end of the eyebrow, actually put my pinky finger over it so that you don't accidentally take it off, because clients would not be happy. So see how she's to the right of the patient because she's working on towards herself on the right side. And see, she's still on the right side, moving towards her. She's still doing the treatment towards her because she's right-handed, so she's on the right-hand side of the patient. So we'll just show you like another few seconds, just so you can see the other area. And then I'll do some Q&A. So you can see how she does the upper lip. She has her open the lip. And the chin, you can either go up or sideways. It really depends on the shape of the chin. Okay, so I need to get back. Okay, so that was a nice video from Dermaplane Pro. Dermaplane Pro let us use the video, and they have, I use their blades and scalpels. They work amazing, and they have a great prep product and everything too, so you don't have to worry about doing too much. You just get everything from that one supply house. All right, I'm going to take some questions now. Okay. If there's a small wound or abrasion, can that area just be avoided? Yes, if it's small and it's not anything like infected or anything like that, then you can definitely avoid that area. What would you recommend for someone whose skin is sensitive to acids? You can do dermaplaning and you could do microdermabrasion if you wanted to, or you could just be a little more aggressive in the dermaplaning if you wanted to go stronger. How long should you wait to apply the beta hydroxy acid? So the acid you can apply immediately after. So what you would do is you would dermaplane and then go right into the peel. You wouldn't re-prep the skin because you already prepped the skin with the dermaplaning. So you're just going to go right into the peel and then finish your protocol that way. Was the hydroxy acid, I didn't catch that word. I think it was lactic acid. Somebody asked what the hydroxy acid was that I like to use. Someone asked, isn't salicylic acid abrasive on the skin? Does dermaplaning cause more sensitivity? Yes, dermaplaning is going to cause more sensitivity, which is why I think it's important to do the peels on their own first before you add dermaplaning to them. And salicylic can be abrasive. That's why I say only up to 20% and on that really thick, oily skin. So you're not going to use it on anyone with like sensitive skin or dry. It's going to be just that really thick, oily. Are there any side effects to dermaplaning? Once in a while, people will get a little like redness from it or irritation, or again, like the scratches or scrapes. Someone asked, would my nose stick out if it was hairy and the rest of the face wasn't? I don't think so. I haven't had anyone say that yet. So. Oh, someone asked about using facial razors at home. So they're not going to be as sharp as the dermaplaning blade. You're using a scalpel. So you're using a really sharp instrument to precisely exfoliate that skin. A client can shave at home. It's not going to hurt them. So say they come to you for like facials with something else, but they don't want to spend the money and get dermaplaned because they're getting other treatments with you. Well, then they can shave at home. It's completely fine. It's not going to hurt them at all. It's just not going to be as sharp and precise exfoliation. What brand of handle and blade do you use? I use the Dermaplane Pro. Is there a way to practice this on something other than a person? So I always say to practice with the back of the blade first. If you use the back of the blade, where it's upside down, you're not going to hurt, you can't hurt anybody. So I always tell people to practice with the back of the blade first, make sure you get that movement down, and then when you feel comfortable, then flip it over. You can practice on like a peach or something as well, or like a mannequin head, but again, I would still start with like the back of that blade. How long does the process take? It typically takes about 20 minutes to actually do the dermaplaning portion of it. Okay. A lot of people said they can't see the video, but I think they did after that. Could this be done after a brow wax? I would do it can, but just really avoid that area because their skin's going to be sensitized from the wax. Could you use this instead of microblading to shape the eyebrows? It's not going to shape them that well, so I wouldn't do it instead of microblading. I think it's a completely different procedure. How much practice do you recommend after being certified until you do it professionally? That is a very good question. And the question, I think that you should do at least 10 clients before you start doing it professionally. But again, some people just pick it up right away. Some people just pick up the dermaplane blade and get it right away. And then other people, it just takes a little more time. So it just depends on how you feel with the blade, your comfortability. Oh, why is it better to stay on one side? Doesn't it make more sense to move around towards the other areas of the face? So because we want to be the safest that we can, and we're always pulling the blade towards us, if you were to go on the other side of the client, so think about it like this. If I'm holding the blade with my right hand and I'm going here and going underneath, if I were to go on the other side and I was right-handed, look at where that blade is. It's completely over the eyes, and that can give people a lot of anxiety. So I'd rather just go from the back into the side which-handed you are. How long should you wait to exfoliate after receiving the treatment? Just a week if you're doing like a scrub or an enzyme or something like that. And what would you say to someone who argues that dermaplaning will compromise the microbiome and open the skin up to irritation? I think it's just like any other exfoliation procedure. And, you know, sometimes we do disrupt that layer a little bit, but as long as you're putting on those products after to help to support the skin and to help the healing, you know, if you're really worried about the microbiome, then using probiotic products. But it shouldn't have anything to, I mean, it's not going to compromise the microbiome that much where it's going to make that big of a difference. And when you're putting on the skincare products after to help to support the skin, that'll help. Any other questions? Well, I want to thank everyone for coming. It was great being here and being able to teach, and I hope everyone is staying healthy and safe. And I will be doing another video next Monday at 3 o'clock on chemical peels. So hopefully you can make that one, and I will see you soon. Thank you. Oh, and one more time, if anyone wants to follow me on Facebook, it's Aesthetics Exposed Education. Instagram, it's Terri Wojak 12. I have another question. What are your thoughts on using CBD oil prior if the client's dry? I wouldn't use this. I don't know the consistency of what particular CBD oil you would be using. The consistency of the dry oil is from Dermaplane Pro, and it's really nice and easy to work with. And thank you, everybody.